Village section of Chicago. It's home to some 20,000 undocumented immigrants, people living in the shadows in constant fear of deportation. In 2014, it isn't supposed to be like this.
We got President Obama. He said no more deportation family.
Yes, we can!
Activists who've been fighting for immigration reform say President Obama promised he would take action within his first 100 days in office, all the way back in 2008. But it didn't happen.
We had high hopes. We heard a lot of promises, but very little delivered in terms of what he promised to do.
The head of the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, Lawrence BENITO, says over and over President Obama let down legions hoping for change.
Not only did he not deliver, we've seen record levels of deportations, more than any other president in U.S. history.
More than 2 million deported under Obama.
No quiero ni pensar, ¿verdad? La salida.
20 years ago, SILVIA OCAMPO entered the United States illegally. She came in through California, way before long fences went up to keep people from crossing into the United States unlawfully. After 5 years of legal fights to stay in the United States, OCAMPO reached her final hearing. The news wasn't what she wanted to hear.
10 minutes ago, the immigration authorities told me I'm out of options with my case, that there's nothing else I can do. They've given me 2 weeks to leave.
Her husband was deported 3 years ago. OCAMPO's children, U.S. citizens because they were born in the United States, are making the gut-wrenching decision to stay, even though the family will split up.
I'm gonna stay here and keep studying, go to college, and have to support my little brother so they could go to school here and help them become something better here. And we're gonna be visiting my mom every once a week.
It's not an uncommon tale. 50% of the undocumented in the U.S. come from Mexico. But now, after years of promises and thousands of families torn apart, Obama is acting.
Our immigration system has been broken for a very long time, and everybody knows it. We're going to take steps to deal responsibly with millions of undocumented immigrants who are already here.
The Republican-controlled Congress doesn't like it.
But I've made clear to the president that if he acts unilaterally on his own, outside of his authority, he will poison the well, and there will be no chance for immigration reform.
And is vowing to take legal action. But for now, by use of a presidential directive, Obama opened the door to immigration reform that could affect 5 million of the nation's 11 million undocumented immigrants. IDALIA Cervantes is a U.S. citizen, born in the United States, a few years after her parents illegally crossed the border from Mexico. She says having undocumented immigrants as parents made for a difficult and often confusing childhood.
And I started questioning them. I started saying, why do you not get a job? Why is it so hard to find that job or to keep that job? Like, why? I see all these kids, and then I started comparing myself to the Caucasians a lot because, it was a culture shock moving to the suburbs. So I would see them and I would say, their parents have a job and they can keep it. Like, why can't you?
Mom worked as a nanny, raising children in other families, while Dad, a musician, plays in a mariachi band. Bouncing around, IDALIA didn't fully understand until her parents delivered the sobering news.
But I remember being around 12 years old when my parents told me that they themselves were undocumented. And it was like a big shock when they said, we don't have papers. We're not here legally. Like, we can get deported any minute and we'll be gone like this.
Her parents told her she was the lucky one in the family.
You're fine, you're set, you're golden. You have the papers, you know, you have that, you know, Wonka ticket, you know, that's just kind of how it was.
But that meant IDALIA went to work at 16, legally, and the money she made was not spent at the mall like other teens. Her paycheck went to help the family make ends meet. And since she was the only one who could legally drive in the U.S., she became the family chauffeur, rather than risk her parents possibly deported after being pulled over for a simple traffic violation.
And I remember my days being waking up at 5 in the morning, taking my mom to work, coming back home, taking my sister to the train station so she could go to school, coming back home, dropping off my brother at the high school, then me going to my college classes.
What makes IDALIA happy is the hope she can purge the word illegal from the discussion when the conversation turns toward her parents.
Illegal is a thing. And when you're telling a person that they are illegal, it's like you're saying that they're not human, that they are a thing.
There are a host of critics lining up to challenge Obama's presidential directive. The chief argument: undocumented workers take jobs from American citizens and they don't pay taxes. Lawrence BENITO says, put that in perspective.
You go into any restaurant, at any hotel, right? Who's washing your dishes, cleaning your hotel room, taking care of your kids? We need to have an honest conversation in this country about what we need and look who's delivering those things.
There could very well be other reasons Republican lawmakers are opposed to immigration reform. According to the Pew Research Center, 56% of Latinos consider themselves Democrats, while only 21% label themselves Republican. More than 2/3, or 67%, say they favor big government. And nearly a third, 30%, say they are liberal. That is 9% higher than the national average. The fight is on.
This is a first step. It's not the only step. We're still going to have to do more work.
Supporters say never lose sight of why people risk so much to come to the United States.
Immigrants today come for the same reasons that earlier generations have, right? For a better life for themselves and their family.
America's Now